All right, I got a question for Bay Area sports fans out there. 888-957-9570. Who will coach the Golden State Warriors next year?
I have no idea.
That's the million-dollar question.
Seriously, it's a difficult situation.
Do you lean one way or another?
I'm continuing to lean he will not be back.
But as far as a person who could replace him.
Oh. A person who could replace him is where the problems come in. That's where the issues come in. Because then you have to pick a coach who's going to probably coach Steph Curry for the last couple years of his career. And what does that entail? And who's equipped to do something like that? Is it a guy who's been around for a while? Is it a guy who's been around for a while on the Warriors staff? Is it a guy who maybe hasn't been around for a while? The one thing that it feels like to me, and I'm wondering if Warrior fans feel the same way at 888-957-9570, is that if Steve Kerr doesn't come back, it could jumpstart I don't want to say jumpstart the rebuild, but it could jumpstart more action in the offseason if Steve Kerr's not the coach.
Well, would you give me this? The rest of the rest of the decisions they make will be dictated by what Kerr's choice is. Because if you bring him back, then I think you're telling everyone that you are just running it back, that you are going to bring in more veteran players, that you're going to try and thread this needle again, and you're going to give it another swing. But if you turn to someone else, I don't really think they're looking at running this thing back again. I think that they are close to maybe the end with Draymond. I think Curry's in a different category, but you're certainly close to the end with Jimmy Butler. You're certainly close to the end, maybe with Horford or Porzingis if they're back next season. I don't know if Horford is. I didn't get a great vibe from him at his end-of-season press conference. But all those guys that were stopgaps, you're telling them that, hey, your shelf life it might be at the end of this season.
Well, yes, and I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily, but if Steve Kerr decides Friday he's not coaching the Warriors and they need a new coach, I still think they're going to go after Kawhi Leonard, no matter who the coach is. Now, I'm not sure if Kawhi Leonard will feel any differently with the Warriors if he's coming here with Steve Kerr as the coach as opposed to a new coach. But today in ESPN, they had a big story on Kawhi Leonard, and the Clippers are probably going to try to move him, and the Warriors obviously are interested. And the price of acquiring Kawhi Leonard is Jimmy Butler, obviously. It would be a 2027 first-round pick, which is next year, and then a 2032 first-round pick. Bobby Marks seems to believe that they would need to both be unprotected picks, and so the deal would look like Butler for Kawhi Leonard along with two unprotected first-round picks. And I looked at that today with you across the table and said, man, I guess maybe you got to do that. But it's not something I'm overly excited about. And you'll probably have to give Kawhi Leonard a few more years.
Yeah, and you might have to find him his coach. I don't know, maybe. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. I think Kawhi Leonard brings a lot more baggage than people assume because maybe he's quiet, but we found out this year he's been running the Clippers, it feels like, for the past few years. Like someone like Kawhi Leonard, yeah, would that interest me? Absolutely. Especially if this new lottery system gets proposed, gets pushed through, because then maybe the Warriors' first-round picks wouldn't be as valuable next season and beyond. Because it just seems like they're throwing all caution in the wind. You know what? If you can turn Jimmy Butler into Kawhi Leonard, I think you I don't know if you have to do it, but you got to consider it.
I think you'd have to consider it too.
Like, is there anything that's off the table for them this summer?
Well, okay. And I believe one thing that would be off the table. Well, is there anything that's off the table? All right, you ready? I think if the Warriors jump up in the lottery, they will not trade that pick. They will draft one of the top 4 players in the NBA. Now, the interesting thing is if on May 10th, the Warriors have the 2nd pick in the NBA draft, well, they're going to get a lot of calls. A lot of calls. And maybe there's something there that, that would entice you, quite frankly. I mean, you got to understand that if the Warriors get 2, and maybe now you can move Butler and that pick for probably a pretty darn good player if that's the route you want to go.
Like Kawhi Leonard.
Well, okay, hypothetically, the Golden State Warriors have the number 3 pick. They jump up to number 3. Okay, well, guess what? I'll bet you the Clippers call now and say, hey, you want Kawhi? We'll take Butler. We'll just take your 3rd pick in the draft, and you can have Kawhi. So you're trading the 3rd pick, Butler, for a 35-year-old Kawhi Leonard.
I don't think I'd do that. Partially because you also have to pay him.
That would just be one first-round pick.
That's true.
Just happens to be a high one.
But that pick might be the future of your franchise. Like, I don't believe that, what's the saying? The absence of evidence isn't the evidence of absence.
Oh.
It's just because you messed up the 2nd overall pick doesn't mean that you should trade the number 3 pick. Just because you missed on Wiseman, and if you want to call Kuminga a miss, you can. I don't think that that's enough evidence for you to forego a chance to draft the future of your franchise, especially if this is supposed to be a great draft class. There's players within the top 4, maybe the top 5. If you're, maybe it's not number 3. If you're top 5, you cannot trade that pick. I think you have to use it.
I don't disagree there. This from the 415 on the text line. Our 3rd pick hit the pike. All right, I'm not saying you do it. What I'm saying is if the Warriors jump up in the lottery, which is May 10th, it jumpstarts conversation for the players that we've heard about over the last couple of years, whether it's Kawhi, whether it's Giannis. What I'm saying is I'm with you. I would not trade a top 4 pick probably for Kawhi Leonard. Actually, definitely. I wouldn't do it, but I'm asking, would the Warriors consider it in this period of time that they're in right now? That, okay, if it's going to cost you 2 unprotected firsts for Kawhi and you jump up to 3, well, maybe they'll just say, give us that one pick and Butler, and that gets you Kawhi Leonard. I still would not want to do it, but given the Warriors' circumstances, I think they'd have to consider it with Steph where he's at.
Well, in a way, if you had a top 3 or 5 pick, I would actually be more inclined to trade the future first for Kawhi. Like 2027 and 32, or whatever the hypothetical is.
Right.
Because then I get a crack.
No doubt.
At a great player, a potential cornerstone franchise guy, and I could bring in Kawhi Leonard. Now, you might run into a similar problem you did before is how's that guy going to get on the floor? Because you got Curry, you got Kawhi, you probably have Draymond, some other older players. But I'm of the belief that going into next season, all bets are off in terms of playing time and load management. So any young player is going to play more than they would have 5 years ago or 6 years ago when you drafted James Wiseman to a team that ended up being close to a championship team. So when I look at this draft, I think there's an opportunity for the Warriors to get a really good player. Should they jump up, they got to do it. And then from there, that's why it kind of all comes back to Kerr. Do you want Kerr coaching that top 5 pick? Do you want Kerr coaching a team that's Kawhi and Steph's? I think the Warriors got to ask themselves that question. And Steve Kerr's got to ask himself that too. If he's still got it in him because I don't think that you can give him, Steiny, a one-year deal. I don't think the Warriors, nor Kerr, wants to go through this circus again of answering questions and trying to figure out their futures and the hugs at the end of play-in games and the existential thoughts that are going to be floating through their head at all times. I don't think they want to do that another time. So I think either you bring back Kerr and you give him a 2-year deal, or you say it's been a great 12 years and you both go your separate ways.
Yeah, I'm thinking of all the things they could do, and one thing they could do is and I understand they aren't crazy about giving Steve Kerr just a 1-year deal, but if you gave Steve Kerr a 1-year deal and you didn't extend Steph, well, then all three would be up at the end of next year. You'd probably go through the process again, and maybe at that point is when you lose Draymond, and maybe you lose Kerr at that point too, and then you make your decision on Steph Curry. I just feel like if the Warriors jump up into the lottery, jump up in the lottery, and they have a top 4 pick, I think that's when teams are going to say, oh, now we'll make a deal with you. Because let's be honest, no team wants to make it like the Clippers don't want to make a deal with the Warriors, give them Kawhi, and then somehow the Warriors win 48 games and that pick is at 22. If the Warriors are sitting with the 3rd pick, that's the pick that teams are really going to be coming for and probably offering the most for too, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the pick you want. You also don't know if next year's draft class is going to be as good as this one's. I think there's a lot more confidence, and that might also be a reason why teams tanked harder than ever before to get into this draft, because you never know what's going to happen in the following seasons. I don't know. If I'm Golden State, I do want to give Curry an opportunity to compete, and someone like Kawhi Leonard would absolutely do that. But it just can't involve this year's draft. It just can't. I think the Warriors have had so few opportunities in the lottery the past, decade really plus, that what would you give me for this? In a weird way, I think you owe Dunleavy the pick.
I agree with that.
Like you owe him the chance to either hit or mess it up. And because he hasn't done anything absolutely egregious, in my opinion, to this stage as general manager, outside of maybe the podium game, where he went after JK and his agent. But I don't think he's done anything as far as roster decisions that have been just baffling. Some of them haven't worked, but
right.
He ain't acquired. He has not acquired a Rafael Devers.
You wouldn't say Butler was that guy?
No, because you won a playoff series with him. Now, maybe you could have won more if Steph stayed healthy. I don't think.
Oh, you mean Butler was a pretty good move
at the time?
I got you.
I
just didn't know what you're saying.
No. I think the Butler move was the right move, and it actually worked. It's not working now, but what if you turn that into Kawhi Leonard? Then that actually looks like a pretty good move.
It'll probably be picks too, though, if it's Butler for Leonard, obviously, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But here's my question to Warrior fans. You guys all know exactly where they're at right now. Steve Kerr is at the end of his contract. Draymond Green's got a player option, and Steph's got one more year. Like, what do people want to see happen, knowing that if Steve doesn't come back, what that may mean for what next year and subsequent years look like, as opposed to if he does come back and what it looks like. I mean, I'd love to gauge how many Warrior fans out there would really like to, let's say, lock up Kerr, Curry, and Draymond for another 2 years, this year or this upcoming year and next, and just kind of get rid of any uncertainty and say, hey, look, at the end of 2027, 2028, all these guys are likely going to retire, and they're all going to retire here. Is that the way Warrior fan? And then you use your draft picks, you try to get better in the meantime, but then at least we've got clarity on where we're at right now with the end of the dynasty, and we're putting the expiration date at 2028. How would you feel about that?
About Curry and Draymond? With Kerr or without?
With him. Steve, we want you to sign a 2-year. Like, if you take everything at face value, okay, they don't want to give Steve 1 year, they want to give him 2. All right, he takes 2. Steph Curry wants one more year added to his contract. We take care of that. Draymond Green rips up his contract, and you give him 2 more years. So they're all lined up. They're all going to be Warriors for 2 more years. And then we know at the end of the 2028 season, it's over. But we know it now.
Well, I don't think that I'd like it, but I would understand it, because what's your alternative? Is to just be a bad basketball team for the last few years of Curry's career. You know, I think that they would like to give him a chance to play in another playoff series, maybe make a run to the second. I don't know, but I just feel like there's a lot of recalibration right now inside of Chase Center in regards to goals. The goals right now, for the time being, cannot be just championship. I think
exactly.
I think that's obvious that they're not a championship team. And if they prove this year that there's something there, then maybe we could talk about it. But what I don't want to go into the year feeling like is, they're off to a slow start and they're below 500, or maybe they're just a couple games above 500, but they're not really looking like a top 4, top 6 team, and we're disappointed. It's like I think that they showed us this year that everything has to be, I don't know if it's expected, Steiny, but just like you can't go into next year just believing that they're going to turn back the clock again. If they do, that's great, and much respect to them. But I don't think the Warriors can operate anymore like they have, where last season they said, all right, well, we just got to get to the playoffs. Okay, well, just getting to the playoffs turned out to be an incredibly difficult task, even when you were healthy. So right. I don't want them to go into this year believing their team is better than it is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I also think 888-957-9570 is the number if you want to jump into the conversation. We're talking about all the Warriors fallout, whether you want Steve Kerr back or not, whether you want him back under certain conditions, whether you want him back if Curry and Draymond are here, but you don't want him back if those guys aren't here. I think one of the, and I was thinking about this, if the Golden State Warriors, they could really get put to the test one more time about what they want to do for Steph Curry. If they have the number 2 pick in the draft and they got a shot at DeBonsa, it's really simple. They may be looking at it saying, do we want DeBonsa or do we want Kawhi Leonard? Because we can get Kawhi Leonard right now for for the pick that is DeBonsa. I think that would be on the table for the Clippers. And then it would put the Warriors in a bind where they would really have to make a decision about Steph Curry and the immediate future.
Yeah, see, I think if the Warriors traded DeBonsa for Kawhi Leonard, that would be incredibly foolish.
What about Giannis?
Giannis makes a little more sense, but I still don't think I would do it.
I don't either.
You missed the boat on that kind of thing. It reminds me of all right, when LeBron James went back to Cleveland, what did they do with the number 1 overall pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers?
What year? Wiggins. Was that Wiggins?
Yeah.
Okay.
They traded it.
Yep.
Because you could get a player that helped them get to a finals and eventually win a championship. They might have been, and they proved to be correct, they were a Kevin Love away from contending. Do you go into next year believing the Warriors are a Kawhi Leonard away from winning a championship?
Not a championship, but in a perfect world, they could move up the Western Conference ladder some.
Well, it's... I'm
being very safe here.
They finished 10th.
Yeah, they could move up the Western Conference ladder a little bit with Kawhi.
Yeah, if you were a player away from a championship, Steiny, then I think trading the 2nd overall pick I can respect that choice. I can respect that decision. But if people inside the Warriors are looking at this team that just finished with 37 wins and got bounced in the play-in as a Kawhi Leonard away from a championship, I think we have bigger problems.
Yeah. Let's go to Dale. Dale's in Palo Alto. What's going on, Dale? How you doing, man?
Oh, another beautiful day in paradise we live here. I tell you, it's a great place. And we have great problems with all the championship teams. So, hey, 2 days ago, weren't you saying you didn't want anybody calling in about Kuminga again?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a good solution for you, a little advice. If Guru or anybody mentions Kuminga, just refer them to Franz Wagner's stats.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Anyway, so speaking...
No, I got what you're saying.
But speaking of that, so I thought you would laugh a little bit. Anyway, okay, so anyway...
I got you.
What cracks me up is the difference in the Niners versus the Warriors in their drafting. Because the Niners, the head coach is heavily involved, and Steve Kerr's point blank said, hey, I'm just the coach. And yet, Kerr wanted Wagner. And, to me, there's no question but Kerr is by far the best coach out there right now. And it would be crazy not to bring him back for 3 or 4 years or how many years he wants to. Let it be his choice. Kind of give him the blank check more than giving Curry, because Curry, you got to pay him on a per-game basis. And too bad NBA contracts can't be on a per-game basis. But I really think that the difference here is you've got a Jerry Jones-style team being run here in basketball, but yet the Niners, they at least involve the coach. Now maybe Niners coach is not as good at picking talent as Kerr, but Kerr seems to know a lot. I just wanted to put this on the table to get a discussion going. I'm glad to hear you talking about Warriors now here more than other topics, because basketball is the sport I love.
Thanks, Dale. Appreciate the call. Well,
I mean, the Warriors have had better drafts than the Niners the last couple of years.
I mean, it's a fine line. It's a fine line because some coaches have too much input, some don't have any. I got to believe that Kerr wants a little more. Maybe that's part of it too. Kerr wants a little more juice, especially maybe in this draft. But my question to Warrior fans is pretty simple. Like, I've got a lot of different kind of questions. Well, is there anybody out there? Well, go ahead.
No. Well, actually, I'll ask on the other side because it might be a bigger question. We only got a minute left.
All right. 888-957-9570 is the number. We're coming up on 2 weeks since the end of the season for Steve Kerr. He said he was going to take a week or two. We're probably going to get a decision, I don't know, in the next several days. You still want Steve Kerr back as a coach?